a mantra is a really helpful one. My husband came up with this one. Mornings are for getting ready. And so if the child's wandered off and is patting the cat, mornings are for getting ready. Where are you up to on the list? I'm a big fan of the 5-minute cuddle, putting the microwave timer on. 5 minutes for you, 5 minutes for you, 5 minutes for you. And it's your turn. Come here, we're going to have a cuddle. Do they need to have cooked eggs every morning? Could it be something about...
People are cooking eggs at home? Oh my goodness, you guys. Kia ora and welcome to Parents We've Met. We are your hosts. I am Dayna Galloway, mum of 2, and I've got parent coach and author Jenny Hale with me. Actually, your book, KFC, we need to give it more props because it is like a thing that quite often for about 6 months when I read your book, I would go, KFC, Dayna, kind from come, when I'd go to respond to my kids. So you don't even have to read the whole book, just read the title and it helps.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I've thought over the years, what do we need as parents to just kind of simplify things, stay kind, be firm, and if you can bring some calm with that, you've got a great posture.
And normally there's one of those 3 things we need to work on.
Yep.
And calm was the thing for a while for me. Now, before we get into it, we've got a Coach's Couch session today, and we're very stoked to have Kristin Ward in the hot seat with us hanging out. But before we get into it, I just wanted to do a bit of a shout out because our main audience, it makes sense, is here in New Zealand, Aotearoa. But I've been looking at who's listening, and I wanted to say a big g'day to our friends in Australia. That's our second biggest group, followed by America, the UK, then Canada, and tied with Canada is the Cook Islands. So kia ora ana. Welcome. So it's so cool to think that there's probably a lot of Kiwis that have like moved and they want to hear a little bit about parenting, you know, from good old New Zealand. So yeah, thanks for tuning in and listening or watching online. We so appreciate you being here. Now, today it is a Coach's Couch session, and this is a topic that brings up a lot of frustrations for many families. It's about finding the calm in the morning chaos because getting out the door isn't that easy. And sometimes getting out the door and still being, you know, okay as a family and smiling and not losing it along the way, it can be really hard. So I'm looking forward to chatting about this. I think a lot of us can take away some tips from this one.
I think we've been surprised in coaching how often the morning chaos or the trickiness of the mornings comes up, and parents are finding it hard to, keep the calm and the atmosphere nice in that morning rush. So what do you think is it about the mornings that's the hardest for parents?
I think it's exactly what you just said. It's the rushing. I think rushing times are risky times. We're far more likely to get cross, to feel overwhelmed, or to forget something when we're rushing. And I think that's the reality in lots of homes. There is a legitimate time crunch. Schools are less and less flexible about people being late. We all feel that. And parents are working and need to be at work, and it's an unavoidable reality for many families that there's a time we have to be out of the door, and that is hard. That
deadline can be really hard to get to when you know you need to leave the house at a certain time, and your child hasn't bought into any of the urgency that you have. So one of the things I'll say to parents to help with that is, it sounds too simple, but I think getting up a bit earlier, having a 15-minute buffer, just means that you have got time to allow for the interruptions or the lost sock, or you're putting the shoes back on the right feet or whatever, or you're making sure a child is getting breakfast. So we all want our sleep and we're often desperately in need of it, but I find the wriggle room can make a big difference.
And it's just maths, isn't it? Like, allow more time, it'll go better. And I think that obviously starts the night before. So getting ourselves as parents to bed earlier, so much easier said than done, I know. And getting our children to bed at a really reasonable time. There's lots of parents in New Zealand, or lots of children in New Zealand, that are probably not getting enough sleep. And it's very rough guideline, but a primary age child needs around 11 hours sleep up to the end of year 6.
Wow.
An intermediate age child needs around 10 hours of sleep, and a high school age child needs around 9 hours of sleep up to the age of 18. And so guarding our kids' sleep is a really critical thing we can do as parents for our children's well-being, mental health, and for helping them to wake up in the morning of their own free will. That's a question we ask in coaching a lot. It's a little bit of a guideline. Is your child waking up on their own? If they're needing to be woken, it could be a sign they're not getting enough sleep, especially a primary age child or a preschooler not waking up on their own. That's a little bit of a sign.
Yeah, something we've just started doing in our family, and I am noticing it's helping, is when my kids were at kindy, they would put their head on the pillow and pretty much crash. And then they go to primary school and there's a lot more listening, sitting, not as much play. And so after school, we're at the skate park, we're at the beach, we're trying to get some more energy out, because I feel like my kids were like getting into bed and it's just they're tired, but they don't feel like they've got enough energy out.
But restless still.
Yeah, and sometimes we think, oh, well, they need to stay up later, but sometimes it's just overtired and it's hard to push through that. Yeah. I definitely know I need to get to bed earlier. And I feel for parents because we finally get time to ourselves and we want to have a couple of hours. And if our kid falls asleep at 9:30 and you're thinking I should be in bed by 11, it's really hard. It's such a juggle. Now, when a kid wakes up already grumpy or anxious, how can parents respond in a way that calms the moment instead of escalating it? And this is for like little ones and for older, for our teenagers, really.
I'm a big fan of the 5-minute cuddle. So even just being really intentional about it, putting the microwave timer on, 5 minutes for you, 5 minutes for you, 5 minutes for you, and it's your turn. Come here, we're going to have a cuddle. And talking and using that time to really tune into our child, talk with them about what have you got on today? It's your library day. Yeah, you might get a cool book out. Cool. Oh, your friend's off sick this week. Yeah, that's going to be a bit sad not sitting next to them in class. Hey, I'll be thinking of you. So just having that little window of intentional affection and kind of emotional support to start the day. Like kids, they don't immediately spring out of bed and want to be efficient. They want to connect with us. And what we find is a child who has had that little bucket filled up or that connection need met, they're more likely to be cooperative and able to then be directed. So connect before we direct is a little...
That's good. And I suppose, like your 15-year-old might not be like, come on, bring it in. But actually, like having a bit of a buffer and connecting of like, let's have breakfast together, let's sit down and have that time, like what's on your calendar today. On a busy morning where a lot is going on and you're running late, how can we still be attuned to our kids? Which I already love that idea of being connected, because you know what's coming up. So you know that they've got that particular lesson today, that teacher's a bit stricter, they get a bit nervous. So, I mean, that already is a bit of a win.
Yeah, I think don't be afraid of just trying to tune into the emotion and name it. It can just help a child to feel seen and sort of understood, and that you're thinking of them. If you sort of say, oh, we don't like that teacher much, do you? Or something like that. It's even just that. It's just a way of being with our child that makes them feel kind of understood. Yeah. And that's very, I think, joining. And then we say, okay, make your lunch, please. So we kind of keep it moving. We don't need to like dwell in the... in what the child's emotions are for the day, but just having it acknowledged quite briefly.
I love that. Just taking that moment to validate and then move on, because there are things that need to be done. So many parents say that they start the morning with good intentions and then it just starts to wobble, and before you know it, it's got really messy and you're annoyed at your child and the atmosphere has changed. What are some tiny tweaks we can make that maybe just avoid that?
Yeah, and I so relate. Like some of my least proud parenting moments have been that morning rush. I 100% relate. One thing I'd say is calling out from another room or calling out from a bit of a distance to your child just doesn't work. If we're quickly trying to make the lunch or put our makeup on and we're calling out to them to do something, they can kind of just tune us out, and it's not deliberate, it's not naughtiness or defiance, but children have the ability to just go over their heads and then not really register that we're calling again. We're calling out and nagging about something again. And parents, that's a very frustrating pattern for a parent. We can find out we're saying something 10 times and feeling quite ignored. We encourage parents, this very uncatchy acronym, UDEC-U, when you're talking to a child. So it stands for up close. We want to be up close. D, down low. E, eye contact. C, calm voice. And my favourite one is the last U, which is the ushering arm. So if we come up to a child and say, asked you to put your shoes on, buddy, and we use a little bit of a ushering motion with our arm or a shepherding arm or a hand on their back. It's not rough. It's not pushing them. It's nothing like that. But it's just a little bit of body language that conveys, I'm asking you to do this and I kind of expect you to do this now. So there's encourage parents, don't call out. That's something that I'd say is a good tip.
Yeah, I love that one. And it makes such a difference to children when we are in the room with them. And I know that sounds sort of exhausting, like you're going to have to, even go from one level of the house to another or move. But when it creates this more peaceful response and a child realises that you've said something and you mean it, and you're following through, I think they start to realise that, a request for moving, you actually mean. To get their shoes or whatever, because so often we repeat ourselves, and then unless you're a saint, by the 5th or 6th time you are in yelling mode because somebody's ignored you. So we're sort of saving some of that chaos and that stressy stuff that goes on by moving our bodies.
Totally. And another thing I would really encourage parents to do is set up systems. So outside of the morning, like sit down with your kids and say, mornings haven't been working so well recently. We've all been getting a bit stressed. What are the tasks that we need to do before we can get out the door in the morning? And give each child a little piece of paper and get them to think, what are the 5 or 6 things I need to do in the morning? What order should I do them in? And have a child just work through that list themselves each morning. So whether it's written or little pictures, if it's a younger child, that is a really good system. And it saves your voice. It saves you being the reminder all the time. We can just say, where are you up to on the list? What's next on your list? And then they take that responsibility of going and looking and thinking, oh, yeah, I'm up to my teeth in my sunscreen.
Yeah, and some kids love that. We've just started doing that in the last few weeks in our home. And they quite like that. It's having that autonomy, that I'm actually not having to always remind. They kind of like being, I've already done it all. And I think too, because sometimes my kids get halfway through and then they think, I'm just going to go and do a game. And so that's been a real thing of trying to enforce all 4 if you've got time to go do something, but please have your teeth brushed, please have all those things done before we go and do that, because that's normally where it gets stressy at our home, of that we think we're about to get out and, you've not brushed your teeth, and your book bag isn't, it's all that kind of stuff. If someone's listening going, okay, it's just a total disaster in the mornings, where's one thing that you would say to start with?
A mantra is a really helpful one. My husband came up with this one: mornings are for getting ready. And so if the child's wandered off and is patting the cat, or if your child has started playing Lego or asked to do the Wordle or asked to whatever, start play fighting with their brother, mornings are for getting ready. Where are you up to on the list? So that's a nice one, the mantra. Sometimes lowering standards a little bit. Could you plait your child's hair the night before instead of having the half an hour of getting the knots out in the morning? Could it just be plaited and then they go to school or kindy like that the next day? Or could they sleep in their clothes the night before? If it's a kindy age child who's just wearing leggings and a t-shirt, that's an idea. Do they need to have cooked eggs? every morning? Could it be something a bit...
People are cooking eggs at home? Oh, my goodness,
people.
you guys.
And I mean, that's wonderful if you've got time. But, you know, if it's causing stress, could that come off the... could you lower your standards a little bit?
Because for me, I want my kids to leave home and for our goodbye to be in a good place with each other. That's the goal.
Totally.
And if I can, eggs in the morning would be lovely and those things, then amazing. But I think, totally right. Low expectations in other areas. So it's more that connection.
Connection before the eggs.
Stress.
That organisational stuff is really helpful. And, you know, growing up for me in a big family, Mum would have the table set. And I think that's sort of a metaphor for we kind of knew that there was a plan to the morning and it started here at the table. And I think that gave us a sense of there's a rhythm and stuff needs to get done. And, you know, I've heard people comment on just how much is required from a child in the morning. It's actually all that executive functioning of doing a job and then knowing what's the next job and then the next job. That's quite a lot for a child. And, you know, we're often frustrated because we think, for goodness sake, this is what we do every morning. But actually for a child, it's almost starting afresh. And some children will find one thing, then the next thing, then the next thing really hard to do without being distracted, which is why a little bit of freedom for us to be able to just check and monitor how they're going, knowing that they will often get distracted. It's a given. Children will get distracted and some more so than others. And that can stop us getting into that sort of where we're really mad with them.
Yeah. Just to wrap it up, we thought maybe a couple of scenarios or a scenario could be kind of cool to look at some of these tools. So some children seem to find it hard to stay on task even if they don't want to be late. You've got a bit of a scenario for us, Jenny?
Yeah, let's imagine this. Your child looks like they're going to get ready for school, but you find them in their room, again, basically playing with carpet fluff. You know, it doesn't even have to be an interesting toy. It's not even Lego, it's carpet fluff. And there's only 2 minutes left before we need to leave. What do we do then?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we can go in, take a deep breath and try and stay calm, and do that ushering arm movement of, come on, buddy, the shoes need to be on. I'm going to be in the car in 2 minutes. So that I think we can just use our ushering arm, use our body language to move them and remind them of being back on task. The kids do not have the same level of urgency, and it's not deliberate. It is just absolutely developmental that they get distracted and that they get off task. And I think what you said, Dayna, just trying to keep in mind that whenever possible we want to leave with that warmth, that cuddle, that feeling of thinking about your day, have a lovely day, love you, you know, rather than huffing and puffing.
Get in the car.
And often we think that the growling is going to make a big difference. And sadly, growling makes almost no positive impact at all. So when we see there's only 2 minutes left, we're kind of saying we've got time for this and that. And you kind of giving them the up-to-date information that they need.
Yeah, that carpet fluff, that will be home here when you get back.
We can model something else out of that carpet fluff.
And I just do want to say, you know, at times we're all going to send our children off and we've been grumpy and we really regret it, or we've yelled, or we've, you know, sent them off in a way that just did not feel good at all. And then we might have felt affected all day by how we sent our children off to school in that grumpy way. We can always repair with our children. Afternoon tea is a great opportunity to sit with our kids. You know, we can apologise for the morning if we feel a need to, and we can get things back on track in the relationship with our children. So it's human. We're human parents. But we can try and prevent more of those.
Good enough parenting, eh? Like sometimes all the things we've talked about, we might get it right 70% of the time, or
let's be honest, we're not going to get it right all of the time.
No.
And that's why what you're saying is you're sort of forgiving yourself as well for yelling or doing something you wished you hadn't, and you decided you weren't going to do that anymore, and you find yourself doing it. Hey, this is one that comes up too, because sometimes parents wake up late. and and the atmosphere is pretty tough. What do you do? How do you help a parent who realizes that they are starting the day on the wrong foot and there's not much time?
And again, it comes back to that horrible alarm clock. I think, just having a system in place to stop ourselves being the reason why everyone's in a flap in the mornings. So it really does set the atmosphere well when a parent can get up before the children. And I don't know if it's too high a standard to say, can you be dressed before the kids get up? If you can manage it, good on you. And it really is a lovely way to start the day where you're feeling organised at least, and we're not trying to do everything at once.
My mornings where I feel like I've not done my best has been when I leave myself to last.
Yeah.
When everyone's fed, when the lunch boxes are done, when the bags are packed, and then the last bit of time is for me to get ready. That's when I normally am like, out the door. Yeah. So I think, again, it's some basic ideas, but if you can actually put yourself at the top and get yourself ready, then I do find that makes a difference with the stress. Yeah. Any last thoughts before we wrap this one up?
I was just thinking of how important it is to be playful, and we're not playful when we're pushed against the time. But, you might have music on, or you might just have time to get the toothbrush out and the toothbrush is talking to your 4-year-old or your 6-year-old and breaking that tension by being playful. And I know it's probably not the thing that comes up in our mind is, how can I make this more fun? But it's a circuit breaker from the tension. If we can be a little bit playful in the morning, it just might be a little tickle or something that just says to a child, hey, we're doing okay.
Yeah. Actually, I used to run some toolbox courses. It's another thing we do here at Parenting Place, and we do it for, the early years all the way up to teens. And I remember a dad saying that he just was feeling like there wasn't enough time to connect with his son in the day, and just making a bit of a difference, and he felt like, how can I do this? And he did get up 20 minutes early and he would put 20 minutes of Lego play in the morning. And a week later, he said it was making such a big difference. So if you've also got a job where you feel like you come home and the kids are already about to get ready for bed and you haven't had that time to connect.
Wow, that's such
mornings
a cool
can
story.
be really lovely to actually go, okay, well, we're all here in the morning, so let's have some play. So that was a good reminder. And it's like, again, it's not always the thing that's going to come right all the time. We're not always going to have toothbrushes that are talking and these wonderful moments, but it's some things that we can actually be bringing out of our kitty, some tools that we can be using. So some great thoughts. Love it. If you would like some more ideas, if we can help you with a toolbox course, with coaching, get in touch. Parentingplace.nz is where we are.